I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We all want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we've lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We've developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent and all will be lost. The internet, the smartphone have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that make men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass and dictators will die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Brothers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you and enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you as cattle, as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not a machine. You are not cattle. You are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Brothers, don't fight for slavery. Fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke, it is written, "The kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you." You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then, in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world that will give men a chance to work, that will give you the future in old age and security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill their promises. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Brothers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite.
This has been a Chris Top production.
You can either talk in the Chris Top program.
Mr. Pop.
Take it from the top.
We've all heard these stories many times. Stories of the American Revolution. We've heard them so many times that it begins to seem almost like a fairy tale. Please understand, this by no means is a fairy tale. These people made of flesh and blood, just like you and I, risked their lives for one simple word that we as Americans maybe take for granted. That word's freedom.
In 1798, Revere described his ride and his capture in a letter to Jeremy Belknap.
If the British went out by water, we would show 2 lanterns in the North Church steeple, and if by land, one as a signal. I set off upon a very good horse. It was then about 11 o'clock and very pleasant. I alarmed most every house till I got to Lexington. I found Messrs. Hancock and Adams. I told them my errand. I likewise mentioned that we had better alarm all the inhabitants till we got to Concord. I saw 2 men. In an instant I was surrounded by 4. The doctor jumped his horse over a low stone wall and got to Concord. Major Mitchell of the 5th Regiment clapped his pistol to my head, called me by name, and told me he was going to ask me some questions. If I did not give him true answers, he would blow my brains out.
Overhearing a plan that Gage was sending troops to Concord, Joseph Warren told Paul Revere to warn the citizens. Of special concern was the safety of Hancock and Sam Adams. They were hiding in Lexington, a small town on the way to Concord. The Patriots needed to know how the British would march. Were they coming by land or by sea? At a time where it took 5 days to travel between Philadelphia and Baltimore, Revere used another method. Revere's friend would hang a lantern in the steeple of Christ Church, now the Old North Church in Boston's North End. Only, it wasn't Paul Revere who rode all the way.
He and one companion, William Dawes, were captured in Lincoln after they had warned the folks in Lexington around midnight and were on their way to Concord. Dr. Samuel Prescott, the third rider, made it to Concord hours ahead of 700 British soldiers who, as they marched, heard ringing church bells calling the Patriots to arms. Not long after Revere's capture, his wife, Rachel, sent him money and warned him not to attempt coming into this town again.
My dear, by Dr. Church I sent 125 pounds and beg you will take the best care of yourself and not attempt coming into this town again. And if I have the opportunity of coming or sending out anything or any of the children, I shall do it. Keep up your spirits and trust yourself and us in the hands of a good God who will take care of us. 'Tis all my dependence, for vain is the help of man. Adieu, my love. From your affectionate R. Revere.
By the time an advance guard of British soldiers arrived in Lexington, half of the colonial men who had previously gathered on Lexington Green were home, but Captain John Parker was still there, ready to command his troops, 77 Minutemen, whom Parker earlier told, "Stand your ground. Don't fire unless fired upon, but if they mean to have a war, let it begin here. Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April in 75, hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year. He said to his friend, if the British march by land or sea from the town tonight, hang a lantern aloft in the belfry arch of the North Church Tower as a single light. One if by land and two if by sea, and I on the opposite shore will be, ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm, for the country folk to be up to arm." Then he said good night, and with muffled oar silently rowed to the Charleston shore. Just as the moon rose over the bay, where swinging the wide at her moorings lay the Somerset British man of war, a phantom ship with each mast and spar across the moon like a prison bar, and a huge black hulk that was magnified by its own reflection in the tide. Meanwhile his friend through alley and street wonders and watches with eager ears, till in the silence around him he hears the muster of men at the barrack door, the sound of arms and the tramp of feet, and the measured tread of the grenadiers marching down to their boats on the shore. Then he climbed the tower of the Old North Church, by the wooden stairs with a stealthy tread, to the belfry chamber overhead, and startled the pigeons from their perch on the somber rafters that around him made masses moving shapes of shade, by the trembling ladder steep and tall, to the highest window in the wall, where he paused to listen and look down a moment on the roofs of the town, and the moonlight flowing over all. Beneath in the churchyard lay the dead, in their night encampment on the hill, wrapped in silence so deep and still that he could hear, like a sentinel's tread, the watchful night wind as it went creeping along from tent to tent, and seeming to whisper, all is well. A moment only he feels the spell of the place and the hour and the secret dread of the lonely belfry and the dead. For suddenly all his thoughts are bent on a shadowy something far away, where the river widens to meet the bay, a line of black that bends and floats on the rising tide like a bridge of boats. Meanwhile, impatient to mount and ride, booted and spurred with a heavy stride, on the opposite shore walked Paul Revere. Now he patted his horse's side, now gazed on the landscape far and near, then impetuous stamps to the earth, and turned and tightened his saddle girth. But mostly he watched with eager search the belfry tower of the Old North Church. And it rose above the graves on the hill, lonely and spectral and somber and still. And lo, he looks on the belfry's height, a glimmer and then a gleam of light. He springs to the saddle, the bridle he turns, but lingers and gazes, till full on his sight a second lamp in the belfry burns. A hurry of hoofs in a village street, A shape in the moonlight, a bulk in the dark, and beneath from the pebbles and passing a spark, struck out by a steed that flies fearless and fleet. That was all, and yet, through the gloom and the light, the fate of a nation was riding that night. And the spark struck out by that steed in his flight, kindled the land into flame with its heat. He has left the village and mounted the steep, and beneath him tranquil and broad the deep, in the mystic meeting the ocean tides, and under the alders that skirt its edge, now soft the sand, now loud on the ledge, is heard the tramp of his steed as he rides. It was 12 by the village clock, when he crossed the bridge into Medford town. He heard the crowing of the cock and the barking of the farmer's dog, and felt the damp of the river fog that rises when the sun goes down. It was 1 by the village clock when he galloped into Lexington. He saw the gilded weathercock swim in the moonlight as he passed, and the meeting house windows, blank and bare, gaze at him with a spectral glare, as if they already stood against at the bloody work they would look upon. It was 2 by the village clock when he came to the bridge in Concord town. He heard the bleating of the flock and the twitter of the birds among the trees, and felt the breath of the morning breeze blowing over the meadows brown, and one was safe and asleep in his bed, who at the bridge would be first to fall, who by that day would be lying dead, pierced by a British musket ball. You know the rest, in the books you have read, how the British regulars fired and fled, how the farmers gave them ball for ball from behind each fence and farmyard wall, chasing the redcoats down the lane, then crossing the fields to emerge again under the trees at the turn of the road, and only pausing to fire and load. So through the night rode Paul Revere, and so through the night went his cry of alarm to every Middlesex village and farm, a cry of defiance and not of fear. A voice in the darkness, a knock at the door, and a word that shall echo forevermore. For born on the night wind of the past, through all of our history to the last, in the hour of darkness and peril and need, the people will waken and listen to hear the hurry and hoofbeats of that steed, and the midnight message of Paul Revere.
Happy Independence Day from the Chris Top Program.
This has been a Chris Top production.
You can either talk in the Chris Top Program.
Mr. Pop.
Take it from the top.
Well, all of our lives, it's like a good book. You turn a few pages, then you open up the next chapter. A success story. Do you have what it takes? Have you already made it? What's your definition of success?
The music industry is brutal.
Los Angeles, New York City, Nashville, Tennessee. Are you just another face in the crowd?
Everybody knows it's not about how much talent you have. It's about who you know and how big your hooters are.
I just want to know if the dude's willing to flip burgers for 3 years while he makes minimum wage. Sometimes that's what it takes to be a star.
Why are people going to want to turn on the radio and hear your music?
Oh, so you think your song's good. Well, what makes it good? It's going to have to be great if you're going to make it in Nashville.
If Chris and I don't agree, they're not on the show.
What makes you special? What makes you unique?
Let me ask you this. Once your hard work pays off and you reach those dreams, are you willing to give anything back?
The Chris Top Program, starting a new chapter.
Are people going to want to read your book, or is it going to end up collecting dust in the discount section at Goodwill?
We want the best on this show, and that's what you're going to have to give it. Otherwise, it's time to go home.
The Chris Top Program, this is where people come when they want to have a voice.
No, they are sadly mistaken if they think we just let anybody on this show.
Look, all we do is broadcast. You provide the hope. You provide the inspiration. You're the next great songwriter. You're the next great entertainer. This is where your song takes its first step.
The Chris Top Program, working on being awesome worldwide.
Let's just face it, we're all a work in progress.